Israel has begun its retaliatory strikes on Iran, sources say. We actually have the statement from Iran now.
In response to months of continuous attacks from the regime in Iran against the state of Israel, right now, the Israel Defense Forces is conducting precise strikes on military targets in Iran. The regime in Iran and its proxies in the region have been relentlessly attacking Israel since October 7th on 7 fronts, including direct attacks from Iranian soil. Like every other sovereign country in the world, the state of Israel has the right and the duty to respond. Our defensive and offensive capabilities are fully mobilized. We will do whatever necessary to defend the state of Israel and the people of Israel.
Do you think that when they recorded that, they all looked at it and said, this is a good speech? And intentionally were like, yeah, I like the way he said it. Because I feel like it was very uninspired and weak. And I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm genuinely asking. I wonder if Israel was like, we don't want someone who's strong, angry, smoking a cigarette, saying, we're going to bomb you. Maybe they wanted a guy who looks a little more less aggressive and intimidating, considering the fact that there is widespread war in the region. Like, I don't think Mossad and the IDF are stupid when it comes to PR. I think they're very good at relations.
The metaphor is they are being attacked. They are the defenders in this. He doesn't seem big and aggressive. He does seem like he's smaller
calm
guy.
and mild-mannered, and we will respond. It's very timid. It's coming across as very timid. I wonder if that's intentional.
Yeah, I think it's trying to be diplomatic, understated, somewhat vague about the extent of it, but trying to. I mean, this is standard statecraft. I mean, if you listen to a State Department, presser, it has a very similar tone, which is that it's sort of short, concise, to the point. You don't give a 5-10 minute soliloquy on it, because everything you say, it's almost like when you are at a deposition, you try to make your answers as short and tight as possible so that there's nothing to poke at.
Well, so the news we have here is that several explosions were heard in Tehran on Saturday morning, local time. And so I guess, this could lead to very serious escalation. I mean, we're looking at escalation, but I'm wondering if this will put Trump in a position where if he wins, there will be a war that's already begun, something he can't stop.
I did ask before the show, and if this is like they're doing this in Israel because there's no leadership in the United States. Hyperbolically, Biden is very weak as a leader, unfortunately. And now they're just taking the initiative, and it does seem like that. And they're going to put the situation in their court if they can. I don't know, but that's sure what it seems like.
I mean, everyone knew this was coming because of the attacks on Israel that happened. What is it, 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, or something like that? I think it was pretty clear. Israel was pretty open about the fact that they were going to retaliate as soon as there were missiles shot from Iran. That actually, I think they actually hit. They were actually landing in Israel. So I don't know that this. I don't think it's a surprise at all. I was just surprised about that it took this long.
Well, it literally leaked like 3 days ago that these highly classified documents of the Israeli intended attack plan against Iran leaked. It was a huge international incident, actually, because it's unclear who leaked it. There are allegations around some of the sort of Iranian adjacent members of the National Security Council. Who are in charge of the intelligence portfolio that may have leaked this in order to stop this from happening. But to Tim's question about how a change in government here will impact the course of events there, I do think that much of what we're seeing right now with the extent of the Israeli military excursions into Lebanon and into Gaza and into Iran are a function of the unsettled business around the Iran deal from 2015, which is what really broke apart so much of the consistency between Israeli foreign policy and U.S. foreign policy. When NATO had this big plan to open up Iran's oil and gas, because after the U.S., Iran sits on, I think, the world's second largest reserves of oil and third largest reserves of gas, maybe third and fourth, but it's either second, third, and fourth. Basically, one of the largest oil and gas centers in the entire world. But the whole thing has been under sanctions for decades, effectively. But under the Obama administration, NATO energy companies began to see an opportunity that if they were to remove the sanctions on Iran and partner with the Iranian government, there would be trillions of dollars in windfall profits if they could simply take that oil and gas, and they would get a cut of it. Iran would sell it on the open market to the world, and they would get rich. It would be like if an asteroid came to Earth and it contained the galaxy's largest concentration of gold. How many gold companies would rush to that? If you remove the sanctions, it's like that all opens up. So that was what the Iran deal was in 2015, and this is what created this giant rift between Israel and the Obama administration. Trump's first act in office was getting out of that Iran deal. That placated the Israeli side of that, and it greatly angered the NATO side of this. This was a huge, huge issue. And if you remember, our current CIA director, Bill Burns, is the guy who personally negotiated the Iran deal for the Obama administration, because this is a major, effectively over the course of a decade, a multi-trillion-dollar windfall to whoever can open that up. The problem is the Israeli government sees that as a massive security threat to Israel, and time is not on their side under continuation of a Biden-Harris foreign policy on Iran styled after Obama in 2008 to 2016. Because if Iran is allowed to operate, to basically sell its oil and gas on the open market and make hundreds of billions of dollars from that, they will 100x their economy. And the idea then is that they would be able to pump up their military proxies, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and militarily overwhelm Israel. And so I think a lot of what we're seeing right now is part of this proxy war between Israel and NATO around the economics of Iran. And I think that they're hoping for a change in government that will put sanctions back on Iran. Right now, Trump stopped China, for example, from getting around those sanctions. He threatened China that they were not allowed to trade with Iran on oil and gas. Just 2 months, and you can look this up, fact check me on this. Type in China, Iran, $400 billion, and you will see the $400 billion deal that was signed, $400 billion from China to Iran in March 2021, just 2 months into office, something China had been waiting for the 4 years of the Trump administration to do in order to have China pump up Iran's economy and get all the oil and gas from there.
$280 billion for developing Iran's oil, gas, and petrochemical industries, $120 billion for upgrading Iran's transportation and manufacturing infrastructure. 25-year cooperation plan signed in 2021 is a comprehensive agreement between the two nations. The program outlines China's investment of $400 billion in Iran over the next 25 years in exchange for a steady supply of oil to fuel China's growing economy.
Right. That's just China. Now imagine if the sanctions are lifted and you have the U.S., Germany, the United Kingdom, France. And first of all, that also massively threatens Saudi Arabia because Saudi Arabia's market share goes way down because they have to compete on equal par with Iran. The price of oil plummets because of the glut of supply on the market. This was the basis of the Abraham Accords, is that Israel and Saudi Arabia were drawn into this alliance, Israel on security grounds around the Iran deal, Saudi Arabia on economic grounds because of the Iran deal. And that's what laid the groundwork for effectively that new peace in the region. And it came obviously at the expense of the Iranian economy, but you have this larger proxy war playing out around that. And I do think that this drastic military action is because Israel sees it needs to make a time-sensitive military move on this because they have felt existentially threatened by the Biden foreign policy.
So they think that the Biden foreign policy has been to open up the sanctions again, to continue Obama's plan to allow Iran to sell its oil. Did he do that during his 4 years?
He did not, because I think of how much they've been attempting to do this. It's one of these, and mind you, Obama did not in his first term either. He didn't do it until the second half of his term because there is political blowback from doing that. There is, a very large, influential Iran hawk faction, both in the Republican Party and also in the Democrat Party. And so it does come at a cost of political capital, but it's a huge boon to other sets of donors who would make multi-billion-dollar profits from doing so. And so there is this tension where you want to time that political action to where there's nothing they can really do to you at the end. It's almost like a pardon list. This happened in 2015, for example, under Obama, but he had been working on it for 7 years. And so they've been trying to sort of do a Iran deal 2.0, but I think part of the problem is in doing that, it would send a lot of folks more to the Trump camp who were on the fence about Trump because now they're existentially threatened around this Iran situation. But what they've done is they've allowed China to circumvent that. And I think that they would do so in a second term or in a Harris term. Harris's her short list of national security advisors and National Security Council folks seem like they would want to enter into an Iran deal 2.0.
So it seems like the Israeli government is concerned with either the blob forcing Kamala into office. Likely that sounds what they're afraid of, that they're afraid that either she's going to win legitimately or disingenuously somehow that she's going to arrive in office and then sign a new Iran deal. So they're getting in now before.
Right. But remember, they don't even need to sign it at this point for a lot of this damage to accumulate. Iran is already, 20x its economy versus the Trump years. Because remember, not only did Trump get rid of the Iran deal, he also put massive sanctions on all this. This was the maximum pressure policy that Trump instituted. Biden took a huge amount of that back. If you remember earlier in the news cycle from about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, Biden lifted sanctions, got $8 billion directly to the Iranian government that Trump had held under freeze. So Iran has been able to economically thrive under the Biden-Harris White House, even without the Iran deal 2.0. But if that were to go through, that would 100x multifold the problem from Israel.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.